The alarms screamed through the dying station like wounded animals. Arlo pressed his palm against the cold metal wall, feeling the vibrations of structural failure rippling through Outpost Meridian's bones. Around him, chaos incarnate, scientists scrambling with data cores, security personnel herding civilians toward the docking bay, children crying for parents lost in the crush of bodies. Final pod. Capacity 27. The station commander's voice crackled through failing speakers. 27 souls only. Arlo counted 32 people still waiting. His chest tightened. The mathematical brutality of survival had never felt so personal. That's when he saw her. She couldn't have been more than 16 in human years, though with the Vexarii species, age was difficult to gauge. Her crystalline skin refracted the emergency lights into fractured rainbows, and her triple-jointed legs trembled as she clutched a small data chip to her chest. Her large, amber eyes so different from human ones, yet somehow conveying the same terror met his. "Please," she whispered in broken standard. "Research. My mother's research. Must survive." The Vexarii research delegation had been studying human resilience patterns. Ironically enough, now their station home was tearing itself apart, victim to a cascade failure in the antimatter containment grid. 15 minutes, maybe less, Arlo had earned his spot on that pod. He'd been first to the staging area, had his credentials verified, his emergency beacon active. He was 28 years old with a promising career in xenobiology ahead of him. He had every reason to live. He looked at the alien girl again, at the way her fingers trembled around that data chip, at the hope dying in her eyes as she realized the pod was full. "Hey," Arlo called to the boarding officer. "Give her my spot." "Sir, you're already logged." I said give her my spot. Arlo pulled off his emergency beacon and pressed it into the girl's free hand. Her skin felt like warm glass. "What's your name?" Imogen. Human name. "Chose it. Studying your kind. Well, Imogen, you're going to make it. You're going to finish your mother's research." He smiled, though his heart hammered against his ribs like it was trying to escape the prison of his own making. "You're going to tell them about us, about humans. Make it a good story, okay?" The boarding officer grabbed Imogen's arm, pulling her toward the pod. She resisted, those alien eyes locked on Arlo. "Why? Why sacrifice for me?" Arlo thought about all the grand reasons he could give, about interspecies cooperation, about the value of research, about diplomatic relations between their peoples. But in the end, truth was simpler than philosophy, because someone has to, he said. And it might as well be me. The pod door sealed. Through the viewport, he saw Imogen's face pressed against the glass, one crystalline hand raised. Arlo raised his own hand in farewell as the pod launched. Carrying 27 souls away from death, 16 remained behind. Arlo didn't pray he'd never been the type, but as the station groaned its death rattle around him, he hoped that his choice mattered, hoped that Imogen would do something beautiful with the life he'd given her. The containment field failed 3 minutes later, 8 years later. Arlo woke up. The white ceiling above him didn't make sense. Neither did the soft humming of medical equipment, or the fact that he could feel his fingers and toes, or that he was breathing, or that he was anywhere at all except scattered atoms in deep space. "You're awake." The voice was familiar, though deeper now, more confident. Finally, he turned his head, miracle that he could turn his head, and saw her. Imogen had grown. Still Vexarii, still crystalline and otherworldly, but taller now, wearing the insignia of the Interspecies Research Coalition. Her amber eyes held wisdom that hadn't been there before, earned through years he'd never witnessed. "How?" Arlo's voice cracked from disuse. "Stasis pod," Imogen explained, pulling up a chair beside his bed. "We found 16 stasis pods that ejected automatically during the containment failure. Outpost Meridian's last emergency protocol. But the radiation damage was severe. It took 8 years to develop the medical technology to revive you safely." She paused, her crystalline features somehow managing to convey sheepishness. "The others woke up 2 years ago. You were the worst case. I personally funded the research to bring you back. You came back for me. I came back for all of you," Imogen corrected. "But yes, especially for you. You gave me a future, Arlo. I finished my mother's research." published 7 papers on human resilience and sacrifice, became the youngest director of xenoanthropological studies in coalition history. She reached out, her warm glass fingers gently touching his hand. Everything I am, everything I've accomplished I owe to the human who gave a frightened girl his seat on an escape pod. Arlo felt tears on his face. He'd made peace with dying. Coming back was harder somehow, more overwhelming than any ending. The galaxy needs to know what humans are capable of, Imogen continued. Not your weapons or your technology, but your ability to choose compassion when survival demands cruelty. Your research position is waiting for you, by the way. I may have pulled some strings. Arlo laughed, the sound raw and broken and alive. I think I need a minute to process being alive. Imogen smiled, a human gesture she'd learned well. Take all the time you need. I waited 8 years. I can wait a little longer. She stood to leave, then paused at the door. Thank you, Arlo, for teaching me what humanity really means. As she left, Arlo stared at the ceiling and marveled. He'd given up his future for a stranger. Instead, he'd found it waiting for him. 8 years later, in the grateful eyes of the girl who'd refused to forget. Sometimes, humanity's greatest strength wasn't surviving. It was choosing who else got to survive alongside them.